German newsletter inaugural. There are many stupid people speaking how bad it is that there are genders in German language. Moreover, there are three. Their mistake is double. There are no three genders but 2.3 maximally. And if we watch it from the direction of our mother language, we can see that sometimes the Hungarian language is very compact. So for instance, if we say Hungarians megverettethetnélek, it is 6 words in English language, and pofon vágta is a great problem. Pofon vágta would have been in English he gave her a jerk or a slapstick, but we don't know when we say pofon vágta whom. So a boy, a girl, or just turned the girl gave the jerk to the boy. But in German language there are many genders, and on contrary with Italian language and French and Spanish, there are only 2.3 genders. It may be a bit nonsense to say 2.3 genders, because in the Neo-Latin languages there are 2 times 2 sexes. To be able to understand each other better, let's row to another word, to the most hayseed long language of the English language, to the English language. Here in this English language, the enumeration, it means the order of words is as stiff and hard like a cliff, because if the Hungarian says a vadász megölte a vadat, it means that the hunter killed the beast. But also we can say, Hungarians, that the vadászt megölte a vad. This is a simple sentence of Severö József. Here there is a fantastic great positiveness of Hungarian language, and the great language maker who created the Esperanto language could not know the great positive of Hungarian language, that we sign the accusative case with a T letter, and that's why for us Hungarians it is unambiguous to say a vadász megölte a vadat and a vadászt megölte a vad. But in English language, where there are no agglutinations for nouns, there is only one way to express the real content, and it is that the first is the subject and the third is the object. So the first kills the third one. Or like in the ancient Greek language, for instance in the Iliad, just now I have read that there was a sentence, Zeus sent Artemis. But in this vadász and vad situation also it could have been that Artemis sent Zeus. So as it could be seen, the order of words is very important in the English language, as well as anyway in the German, but not so intensively, because as we are going to see, this article, what is THE in English language, it is divided into 4 variations, and by it we can something express, but what Zamenhof could not see in Hungarian language, the Hungarian language is more appropriate to be concrete. Moreover, although in English language there is only one case, the nominative case, in German there are 4 cases, and in the Latin language 7. In the Hungarian language you can find 16 genders with 23 agglutination forms. So back to this ground, what's the next subtopic? Yes, I already said that the first is the subject and the last one is the object. In German language a bit better is the situation. So for instance there we can say der Jäger ermordete die Bestie. The second sentence is den Jäger ermordete die Bestie. It's all because the Der and den are the nominative case and the accusative case of the the. Having genders in a language, it becomes much more full of nuances, nuance differences, which could be called imponderabilia, and the second sentence is that the advantages of German language according to the English language teaching in the communism in Hungary was melting or melting down. And it's very interesting because in Hungary the German language teaching has had a great advantage according to the English language teaching. Yet in the communism, the English language teaching books have been being much better. Afterwards, here I was focusing on a not method but a willingness. So the best is if we can make something compound and concise for having something in 15 sentences instead of 80 sentences. So it means we have to focus size intensively on a topic. And what is this topic to interiorize? To find the outgoing way, we must be able to find invisible points in language teaching and language learning, and these can give you acceleration of the speed. The next thing, yes, here I stated that this teaching will be full of charts. Charts may be primitive, but by them I think method can be better operate. Uh, let's have the first portion, and here Vittili I stated that I hope it's not a dosis. The first part is Folge 1, which means part 1, for instance. And here we can stop a bit because this Latin springing word part has got many meanings in English language. Folge effectively not. Only one or two meanings. Folge is the first part effectively. Yes, here I state that long ago I hated everything which has got to do with anything in German culture and language, but step by step I could get out of this more, and I thought to learn and interiorize this language. So before eating the banana soup, the thing is that if one teaches another person, the best is if the student can leave the place with pleasure, and it's not only enough because it could have been or should have been lying, cheating and betray, but also that the student has got something in the bag. So it's very important moralistically that the person after the 90 minutes goes away with the knowledge. As I am teaching or as I teach, I focus on the thing that the person goes away, leaves me with being able to speak many kinds of different languages, and all of them are of course from the four moods. The affirmative, let's see what is here. Yes, about the present time English published language books, it's also very important that they focus on Hollywood like bubble world and not on the real life, because let's say if somebody is hairy on his face after a second day, having not shaved. You never can find such a part or particle in a normal language, or for instance, never it occurs that hey, please don't sit down because it's ice under you, or pull down the toilet after yourself. But the life has got many parts, and it is mostly avoided in the present time language learning books or textbooks. Okay, let's suppose that we are on an island, and either of us is Péntek, or in Robinson's language Friday, the other is the teacher. And you can be the student or you can be the teacher, but you are stuck together, and this adhesivation is very important, and I think this language learning must be vivid, vivacious. Many times that it occurs that when I start a language, I give base elements, and I call them bricks, and I don't know concretely how is Malta in English language, but the principle is this fixing material between the bricks. And what are these two sides of the coin? The first is that we put in the personal pronouns to the student's mind. Afterwards, the sorsorrendtörvény comes, which would be not enumeration rule in English language, unfortunately, but they call it, if they can call it and name it, the order of words. And this is very important because here we can tell or say or explicate that there are two different things. The first is the affirmative and the negative mood, where the order of the words are linear. It means the first is the subject, the second is the predicate, and the third is the rest. And in the interrogative or negative interrogative cases, the not the first one but one, so the zeroth is if I call it, is the question word, because in a question there are either question words or no any. The first is already the predicate, and the second position is sunk, the subject, and the last is the last, so the other elements, object and any adverbials. Okay, so this is what, and these three things are important. Afterwards, teaching or being taught is very important, the leading of the vocabulary. This Sapirico method has got a very special, maybe cute method, compiling or having compiled many particular methods, and by it I always put some nouns, afterwards some temporals, afterwards some instrumentalis or personalis, and afterwards some adjectives, like for instance big, green, long, nervous, hilarious, and so on and so on and so on. As well as only one verb, and it is the to be, because the English language has got great problems about the other verbs. But in the German language the situation is a bit more complicated, because here we have to add also an interesting thing which is called agglutination of a verb. This agglutinative or agglutinative verb, for me, if I teach German language, is brauen. For male students, I say that this is sörtfőzni, and if the student is female, I say her, it is kotyvasztani, and this is a funny witty something. Moreover, I could find a normal verb, and it is good because it doesn't have got any exceptional forms. The next thing is that I put some examples about the genders of the verbs. Here I emphasize that there is the gender of the daddy and the kid. They are effectively the same, and this similarity led the Neo-Latinic languages to have twice two genders, because in pluralis everything is repeated. And this is one gender, the daddy-kid gender in German language, and the kids in pluralis in 70% got ER form, so it means that, for instance, kid is kind, but in pluralis kinder. But in 30% the neutrum, so this kid, kind, can have for plural an e. In the daddy gender, it's just turned, because there 70% the noun has got e letter, like for instance Bleistift, Bleistifte, which means pencil, pencils. And in 30% it can get er. For instance, my favorite example is der Geist, die Geister. It cannot be interpreted or translated into English language because it's not a mental language. Geist effectively means intellect or something like this, but it much more. And so, for instance, starting German language, the first is, like in English language, the pronouns. Afterwards, the enumeration of the words. Afterwards, the agglutination of the copula. In both languages, very important, because in all languages the copula is different from all any verbs. People say that even the Turkish language, where there is only one verb form, not 50 like in Icelandic language, the copula is different. And afterwards comes the gender of the nouns, and after the agglutination of the brewing, sörtfőzni, yes. And here in the written form you can see that how does the German copula look out. Effectively it's ugly, like in English language. These languages, you know, are very ugly from the direction of aesthetics. So for instance, if somebody says ich bin or I am, what's that? This is catastrophal. Such a more ugly language you could find only in the Slavic languages, moreover. Also the Hungarian language seems to be very flat. About it, I have read still, as I was a primary school boy, that Liszt Ferenc grand son, who is anyway Italian citoyen, was meeting once a time the Hungarian language, and he said that the Hungarian language was very flat. Although we have 44 letters in our alphabet, we don't make the best of it, and sometimes the Hungarian language is full of Esperanto bleatings. Yes. The others are here, and I scroll up, and the second part, Folge 2, says that we need a good vocabulary, and here I have some sample sentences. A titkárnő tanul az irodában.
The secretary learns in the office.
The secretary learned in the bureau. A titkárnő délután tanul az irodában.
The secretary learns in the office in the afternoon.
The secretary learned nachmittags in the bureau. A titkárnő a garázsmesterrel tanul az irodában délőtt.
The secretary learns in the office in the morning with the garage master.
The secretary learned in the garázsmeister vormittags in the bureau. A titkárnő és a garázsmester tanulnak az irodában délután.
The secretary and the office master learn in the office in the afternoon.
The secretary und der garázsmeister lernen nachmittags in the bureau. Délelőtt a főnök beszélget a boszorkánnyal.
In the morning, the boss talks to the witch.
Der Chef redet vormittags mit der Hexe. Te és a tanuló nevettek az autóban.
You and the pupil laugh in the car.
Du und der Schüler lacht in dem Auto. Gottfried és Jürgen szöknek az utcán.
Gottfried and Jürgen are fleeing in the street.
Tehát lehet látni, hogy nem csak azok az alanyok lehetnek alanyok, amelyeket a nyelvtár odaadott, hogy boszorkány, hexe, nem tudom. Also you can have personal names like for instance Jeffrey or Helga or Gottfried or Jürgen or Herbert or Tivadar. And also you can use in a language, if you are at a new language teacher, pronouns. Hungarian language is a hidden thing in this situation because as we return or come back to the pofon vágta, effectively you cannot find the subject there. You must add up it. So, ő. A szállodában a főnök és Gertrud délelőtt beszélget.
The boss and Gertrude talk in the hotel in the morning.
Der Chef und Gertrud reden in dem Hotel vormittags. And now comes this short sentence, and I many times experienced that the more primitive a sentence is, the more complicated it may be to be able to translate it back. For instance, let's have this Hungarian small sentence. Nevetnek. Nevetnek is a sentence, we know it from Zsilka János because it starts with a initiale, so big block capital letter, and it is stopped with a full stop anyway. These nevetnek is two words in German language.
They laugh. Sie lachen.
Önök a szállodában vannak és táncolnak. Aha. So you can say or state double sentences or triple sentences as well, and the comma is for this to make a connectionships between the two hemispheres. Önök a szállodában vannak és táncolnak.
You are in the hotel and dance.
Tehát ez volt a mondat, amit hallottunk. Sie sind in dem Hotel und sie tanzen. Stb. Stb. Here I have put down some observation points. The first is, there is no order of words in Hungarian sentences. It can be catastrophic because if I say to you, a főnök az irodában van.
The boss is in the office.
In this situation, the one was the last word of the sentence. A főnök délelőtt van a autóban.
The boss is in the morning in the car.
In this situation, the one was already in the center part of the sentence, and if I state it, van egy toll a kezemben.
There is a pen in my hand.
In this situation, the one word was the first one, so it means that it is ultra complicated to find the right way to express yourself in Hungarian language, so it can be a catastrophe to learn it. The second notation is that yes, in German language, on this niveau, I have to emphasize, on this niveau, there is a order of words, but later we can surpass it. Überwinden anyway. Later, this third point is not quite important if you are a beginner, because later you can, as I has mentioned it, step over this strictness, how to use the enumeration of words. Here you have a homework. It is that you have to buy a very special exercise book. The exercise book contains blank papers without any stripes or checked or